The message was never meant for her, and in that single careless second, a tired father's guarded heart cracked open in a way he never expected. It happened late at night, when the city outside his small apartment hummed with distant traffic and the kind of loneliness that settles into the bones after a long day of pretending to be strong. Daniel Harper stared at his phone with aching eyes, fingers trembling, and sent 3 simple words into the dark without checking the name at the top of the screen. Those words carried years of grief, exhaustion, and love he had nowhere left to put. And the moment the screen went silent, his life quietly shifted towards something he could never have planned. If stories about kindness, second chances, and unexpected turns still matter to you, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from and whether you believe small moments can change entire lives. Daniel Harper had not planned to become a single father. Life rarely asks permission before it rewrites itself. 3 years earlier, his wife Emily had slipped away after a short, cruel illness, leaving behind silence in the house and a 5-year-old daughter named Lily who still reached for her mother in her sleep. Daniel learned quickly that grief did not pause for bills, lunches, or early morning alarms. He worked as a junior logistics coordinator at a mid-sized company in the city, a job that paid just enough to keep the lights on if he skipped meals and ignored the growing crack in his shoes. Every morning, he tied Lily's hair with clumsy fingers, packed her school bag with more love than money, and promised her that everything would be okay, even when he wasn't sure he believed it himself. At work, Daniel kept his head down. He was reliable, quiet, and invisible, which felt safer than being noticed. His boss, Evelyn Carter, was known for her sharp focus and intimidating presence. She walked through the office like someone who had learned early that softness was a liability. People respected her, some feared her, but few truly knew her. To Daniel, she was simply the person whose approval determined whether his fragile balance would hold another month. He never spoke more than necessary to her, and she never asked more than the job required. Nights were the hardest. After Lily fell asleep clutching her worn stuffed rabbit, Daniel would sit at the small kitchen table, staring at photos on his phone. Emily's smile still felt close enough to touch, and sometimes the ache in his chest became too heavy to carry alone. On one of those nights, exhaustion blurred his judgment. He typed, "I miss you," with shaking hands, meaning to send it to Emily's old number, a habit he hadn't been able to break. The contact name at the top betrayed him, but grief doesn't always allow clarity. He pressed send and set the phone down, unaware that the words had gone to the one person he least expected. The realization hit him minutes later like cold water. Panic flooded his body as he saw the name Evelyn Carter staring back at him. His heart pounded, and shame burned his cheeks even though he was alone. He imagined the consequences, the awkwardness, the possible assumptions, the risk to the job that kept his daughter fed. Sleep never came that night. Every vibration of the phone felt like a judgment, and when morning arrived without a response, the silence felt even louder. The day dragged on with unbearable slowness. Daniel made mistakes he never usually made, his hands unsteady as he worked, his thoughts trapped between regret and fear. He avoided looking toward Evelyn's office, convinced that any moment he would be called and quietly dismissed. But the call never came. Instead, as evening settled and Daniel rushed home to relieve the neighbor who watched Lily after school, there was a knock at his apartment door just as he finished reheating soup for dinner. When he opened the door, the sight stunned him. Evelyn Carter stood there, not in her sharp office attire, but in a simple coat, her expression unreadable yet softer than he had ever seen. The hallway light cast long shadows, and for a moment Daniel forgot how to breathe. Lily peeked out from behind his leg, curious eyes studying the stranger. Time seemed to pause as the weight of the accidental message hung between them, unspoken but powerful. Evelyn stepped inside quietly, her gaze taking in the modest apartment, the toys neatly pushed against the wall, the framed photo of Emily on the shelf. Something in her shifted then, as if the armor she wore so effortlessly at work had cracked. She spoke softly, leaning down to Lily's level with a gentleness that surprised them both, and then she turned to Daniel, lowering her voice in a way that felt almost like a whisper meant only for him. She told him she hadn't come as his boss, but as someone who understood what it meant to miss someone so deeply it hurt to breathe. What Daniel didn't know was that Evelyn's own life had been shaped by loss. Years earlier, she had built her career on ambition after losing the person she loved, choosing success as a shield against grief. His message had reached her at a moment when her own loneliness echoed his, and instead of seeing impropriety, she saw pain she recognized. Standing there in his small living room, she saw not an employee who made a mistake, but a father doing everything he could to survive. Over the weeks that followed, small changes began to unfold. Daniel found flexibility at work he had never dared to ask for. His efforts were noticed, his ideas valued. Evelyn remained professional, but there was a warmth now, a quiet understanding that made the long days easier. Lily started to laugh more, sensing the shift in her father's spirit. For the first time since Emily's passing, Daniel felt seen, not pitied, but respected. Life did not magically become perfect. Bills still arrived, mornings were still rushed, and grief still visited unannounced. But hope, once absent, now lingered in the background like a soft light. Daniel learned that vulnerability, even accidental, could open doors he never knew existed. Evelyn learned that strength did not always mean standing alone. As seasons changed, so did the heaviness in Daniel's heart. He found himself smiling more easily, breathing more deeply, and believing, slowly, that his life was not defined only by what he had lost, but by what he could still become. The message that once filled him with shame became the quiet turning point of his story, proof that even mistakes can carry grace. Before this story ends, take a moment to comment and share what this journey made you feel, because your words might be the encouragement someone else needs tonight. And if this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness can appear when we least expect it, please like, share, and engage with this video. Your support keeps these stories alive, and somewhere out there, another tired soul might find hope because you chose to listen.